What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Real Talk, and I'm back for the review of the final film in this trilogy, and that's 2007's Spider-Man 3. Check it out.
Want to push me away?
Why would I want to push you away? I love you.
You knew this was coming, Pete.
I didn't kill your father!
What's happening? We've all done terrible things to each other, but we have to forgive each other, or everything we ever were will mean nothing.
Alright, guys, and once again, this film stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco. We have new additions Thomas Haden Church, Topher Grace, and Bryce Dallas Howard. And it's directed by Sam Raimi once again. And this film is the third in the franchise, like I said, and it's the one that's kind of have a lot of controversy behind it. And it's been known as like one of the worst Spider-Man films in, all six, I think, that's been made now, with this Spider-Man Homecoming being released. But I don't quite agree with that after watching this movie again. So this movie obviously does have a lot of negatives, guys. I'm not saying it doesn't, but a lot of people saying it's like one of the worst movies ever made and everything like that. But I don't quite agree with that, because after watching it again, I finally have the problem that I feel is the biggest problem in this movie. And I feel like there's just too much going on. And I know that people have said this before and everything like that. I'm not saying I'm the first one to figure it out, but I feel like, to me, that's the biggest problem, and I'm going to go into it right now. Fun fact, guys, this movie was actually supposed to be split into two films because of the amount of characters and plot lines and the amount of stuff that was going to be in just one movie, but they decided to go with just one, and it's become clear that there's just too much, and it's trying to be too ambitious, and it just does not work. It falls apart. You have a lot of new characters, you have all these plot lines, and it just doesn't mesh well together with the already existing characters, Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry. You try to kind of complete their arc in a sense, but also add these new arcs and these new elements and these plot lines and stuff like that, and it just becomes one big mess. And it's interesting because the director actually just wanted the story to focus on Peter, Mary Jane, Harry Osborn, and Sandman, and he did want another villain, and he was kind of leaning towards Vulture, but the producer, Avi Arad, that freaking guy, he kind of convinced Sam Raimi to put Venom in there because Venom has a big fan base, and so that's why Sam Raimi included him, and he kind of started liking the character a little bit because Sam Raimi didn't like the character at all. But with that being said, it's kind of become clear that his original vision of the movie just being about those four main characters, you can see that movie in there, but it's just lost and it's just a big mess. And I just want to let you guys know that fact and kind of, okay, so this is what they wanted, and then this is what it actually became. So that being said, guys, obviously the flow of this movie is not good. It's just one big mess. Even some of the humor I just found it to be forced. Like, there was a scene in the Daily Bugle with J. Jonah Jameson, and I love that character. I felt like that scene was just there just to be like a comedy bit, and it just, for me watching it, it didn't work. It's like, why is this scene even here? But obviously, with all these characters and everything that I've been saying, is like there's no focus in this. There's just, there's Peter, there's Mary Jane's storyline, and there's Harry, and then there's Sandman, and then later on there's Eddie Brock, and then what's her name, Gwen Stacy, and all that stuff. So I feel like the focus is not there at all. So moving on with my positives, guys, like I said, Sandman. Sandman was just a great villain. One of my favorite scenes in this movie was when he's being made into Sandman. That it's just a beautiful imagery, and the music, again, the music. And then when he finds his little necklace of his daughter and stuff like that, with those scenes that you're already they already explore his character of him getting out of jail, visiting his daughter, I'm not a bad person, I just had bad luck and stuff like that. Just that scene, just with those two scenes, and now this scene, you just understand this character. And again, Sam Raimi does that with all his villains, and that's what I like. And just Sandman's story arc overall in this movie, and his purpose of being there, and his purpose of mixing his story, because this is not in the comics, of the whole Uncle Ben and stuff like that, with Peter trying to find forgiveness for this character and stuff like that, and he gets it at the end. I just thought it was a really well done story, and it's one of my positives. And obviously all the action scenes, guys, in this one was really well done. The visual effects obviously were good, and obviously with Sandman you can do some really interesting stuff, so I thought that was really cool. And even at the end with Harry and Venom and Sandman, that end battle was really cool. And that train sequence too on the underground tunnel with Sandman, that was really, really cool. It's kind of reminiscing on the second one. And yeah, the action was done really good. So I've been mentioning this in my other 2 reviews, guys, that the story and the arc for these characters, the 3 main characters in my opinion, were Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and Harry Osborn. And man, it's such a beautiful ending in my opinion, how everything just comes full circle and stuff like that. And how the movie ends too, with Mary Jane and Peter just, you know, dancing and stuff like that. You don't really know what's gonna go on, and everything that happens with Harry was really well done. I feel like if they would have explored that a little bit more, his motivations would have been more clear, because I think he just jumped to the conclusion of, okay, let me take over my father's mantle real quick, or like at least try to get revenge. I feel like they should have shown him struggle a little bit more. And that would have been really cool. So I guess that would have been a negative, but overall I really like how this movie concludes their story arcs and stuff like that. And that's just one of my favorite, and that's why this is one of my favorite trilogies, because of that main storyline. Alright guys, and the music. This music comes back using music from the first 2 and adding again Sandman's theme, and even the symbiote theme. I don't want to say Venom's theme, because I feel like that theme was used when we saw the symbiote for the first time and stuff like that. So again guys, the music does its job, and I have to mention it. And oddly enough, I felt like Mary Jane was a standout in this movie. Watching this movie again, it's like, man, I understand Peter and stuff like that. Well, not all the time. And again, quickly touching on Peter, I feel like some of his motivations weren't fully realized again, because there's just too much going on and stuff like that. But Mary Jane, man, I seen this movie, I couldn't help like to just feel bad for her, and like man, Peter's a dick, you know? So I really felt for her character, and I really liked her arc, and you can understand why, you know, she decides to do the things that she does. And especially after the second one, this is what I like, that this movie also builds upon and has a great foundation in the first 2 movies. And I feel like Mary Jane was a standout for me. So overall guys, like I said, I like this movie. I do think it has a lot more negatives than the first 2, and that's another thing, that this movie had a lot to live up to, you know, based on the first 2. But I have to give Spider-Man 3 a 7 out of 10, guys, because I really like it. I like it as a trilogy and stuff like that. It's not the best out of the franchise and stuff. Like I said, it does have negatives, but I don't hate it like everybody else. Alright guys, so let me know what your thoughts on the film in the comment section down below. I did review Spider-Man 1 and 2, so those links will be in the description down below as well, and at the end of the video. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Real Talk with 2 Ks. And as always, I'll see you at the movies. Later guys.